Hi, my name is Jeremy Murphy, and I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. I am a runner, marathon runner, running coach, um, also an ultra marathoner. And welcome, happy to have you joining us. Today, what my intention is to have maybe about an hour-long show. Allow people to ask questions if they have questions on running. I'd like to try to keep the seats open for runners if possible so that questions can be answered. You can ask a question live if you want to hop in a seat, or you can type one in the chat if you wish. And the way to do that, you type slash and then Q and then your question. So I'll type an example here. I'll say, what is running? Well, there's our first question. Might as well start with that one. I'm going to open a seat here in case one of you want to jump in. And feel free to jump in at any time with a question. I'm going to tell a little bird here, and I encourage those of you that are here to do that also to help spread the word. And we will see if we can get some more people to show up. Might change the topic a couple times to maybe arouse more interest, allow people to tweet and retweet it, and we'll go from there. All right. Well, running is one of the greatest exercises known to man, in my opinion. The ability to unleash endorphins and relieve stress, really be able to connect with nature. You know, you can see the trees in our backyard. I really love connecting with trees as I run, and nature and animals. You'll see birds, squirrels, rabbits, deer, pheasants. Trying to think of foxes. I've seen foxes on trail runs. And of course, since I run with my dog, you know, you have a canine magnet, which encourages other dogs to chase your dog while you're running. So we had an occasion this week where Misty, our English setter, was on the leash with me, and suddenly I looked back and there were two dogs. And one was Misty, our dog, and there was a little puppy trailing on behind her. So I don't know exactly what that was all about, but I guess, you know, there are dogs that kind of have a Pied Piper effect with other dogs and encourage them to chase. There are a lot of people that have their dogs off a leash here, and we do have a leash law in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I live. But, you know, people don't always follow it, or some people are walking or running with 2 or 3 dogs. And so they might have 2 on a leash and 1 that isn't. So, you know, that can create some problems. If you have 1 dog, hopefully the dog off the leash is not an aggressive one or anything like that. So if that dog is the aggressive one, you've got a problem. And there have been occasions where I've had to pick my dog up. We've been out on a run and there's a dog loose that's large, and, you know, owners are protective of their dogs. So I'll just pick Misty up and hold her, and, you know, she'll try to climb to the top of my head and jump over or something like that. But let me give you some background on my running, and I'd happy to talk to any of you about your backgrounds or race experiences, or, you know, some people don't like to race. It depends on the individual runner, but I started running full marathons in 1988. Ran the Dallas Marathon was my first. Really, my running journey goes back a little bit before that. It was about 1979 or 1980 that we learned that I had asthma. And so, you know, I had to, at that point, I was still trying to play football. And my doctor told me that I was too small to play football. I had too slender, too thin a build, that I was going to get creamed on the football field. And so that kind of reframed my athletic experience. I asked the doctor, well, what should I do as an alternative? And the doctor said, well, maybe you should run. And I thought, okay, well, I'm trying to be receptive to this. I'm not sure how well this is going to work out or not. So I gave it a shot. It wasn't easy at first. I couldn't run a quarter mile without wheezing sometimes. Kind of depends on the pollen counts and things like that. I've got to be careful because I'm allergic to pollen and mold and things of that nature. So that affects my ability to be able to run. Sorry, I've got some bugs that are jumping on me out here. Bug magnet. So I did start running, and my father and brothers were instrumental in helping me stick with it. Kept running. Got into high school, started running the, longer. I tried hurdles at first. I wasn't good at that. I would knock the hurdles down. So I tried long jump for a while. That I was okay at that. And then other kids became taller and had more jumping ability than I did. So I had to switch to longer races. Tried the 400, tried the 800. These weren't really long enough. I just didn't have breakaway speed that some kids did, or the ability to pace themselves for that kind of distance. So finally got to the point of the mile and the 2 mile. And those races, by comparison, seem very long to an asthmatic. But I, found that maybe they weren't long enough, actually, because cross country opened up, and then suddenly I'm running 5Ks, which is 3.11 miles. And those went a little better. And that's about the point where I fell in love with running, and just kept at it. Was persistent, got to my senior year, was captain of the cross country team. And then in college is when I ran my first marathon in Dallas. And at that point, I discovered that I had perhaps some hidden running ability that I didn't know about, and just kept at it. I found that, sometimes the only way that I could relieve stress adequately was to run 10, 15, 17 miles. And of course that just, that helped me with my creativity when I was writing papers and things like that. So kept running, ran a couple marathons in the 80s, ran more in the 90s, took a couple years off, got back to running. And then last October, I ran my first ultra marathon in Lincoln. It was the market to market 50K. That was kind of a critical point because, bugs, and now we've got a dog barking. And it's not our dog either, the next door dog. Anyway, the 50K was a new horizon for me. I wasn't sure that I could handle that distance or not, but I found that I could. And really, a couple of years ago, I started run streaking. And a run streak is running a mile or more on consecutive days without assistance. So without a cane, without a walker or anything like that. And, I found that if I was smart about that I could get some running momentum going. And we'll, I guess we can get back to that at some point, depending on if we have questions or not. But I found that taking an easy day on Mondays help. There's a movement called the Monday Mile, and that basically means on Monday you run a mile. You don't have to run more than that to keep your running streak intact. Some people that are doing running streaks are just running a mile roughly every day. Some of us are running much more than that some days. It just, it depends on your schedule. But I found that, doing that deepened my running knowledge and, allowed me to have a deeper knowledge of what I was doing, finding risks and hazards. Of course, I also found that I was, you have periodic struggles with fatigue and exhaustion if you overtrain. And I think with a lot of us that train for marathons and ultra marathons, we find that we do tend to overtrain and overdo it one day and pay the price the next day. And we've got to be careful with that because that can result in injury, and then you're having to hold back or take rest days, that type of thing. And I was a big believer in rest days before I started this run streak. And now I realize that for some people, maybe that's, not the ideal situation. It depends on the individual. But so I try to, Mondays are kind of the restful day, and restful in the sense that maybe I'm just running a mile as opposed to taking a day off. There isn't a big difference between the two. But we find that having at least 1 or 2 rest days a week for a lot of people is essential. Others might need more than that. Some people are maybe running every other day. It just, it depends on the individual. And of course, as you train for races, sometimes you have taper periods that will affect, how much you're running. And so you're maybe running 60% or 40% of where you were before you hit the training peak. So, that's something to consider. And, there are times where if you overtrain, maybe you have to take a week or 2 off, or a week or 2 where you're running 20 or 30% of your normal mileage. But I think, a lot of us, we try to experiment with that. And I think each of us kind of has a magic or ideal point of how far we can push the envelope without overtraining, without risking injury, fatigue. You don't want to make running so significant that you're negatively affecting all the other aspects of your life, your family, your nutrition, your sleep. Hydration's a big deal too. I found that, carrying water with me is important. I'll hold up my water bottle. I try to measure how much water I drink. This is a 32-ounce bottle, and I try to drain this at least 3 times a day, sometimes more than that if it's hot and humid. And I do pay attention to the heat and humidity. And I know a lot of you that are maybe in other areas of the country, in Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, anywhere in the South, you're dealing with a lot more heat than we are here. And, here we're dealing with fall. And, fall running is pretty fun. I mean, you get more mild temperatures and you can crunch the leaves when you're running. So, and really you have to, I think we have to be cognizant of the weather conditions when we're running too. If you're running in summer and it's 100% humidity and it's 100 degrees, well, you might want to modify your workout plan for the day, because if you don't, you're going to be having problems and just having to pay the price for potentially days after that if you're dehydrated or that type of thing. So I'm going to make sure I did open the seat. It looks like I did. Yes. And I want to say hi to Astronomical One. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Feel free at any time. If any of you have questions, you can type it in the chat or you can hop in a seat. Either one is fine with me. You may have seen Misty, our dog, was on the grass behind me, behind my right shoulder. So you may see her running around the backyard a little bit. But we're trying to broadcast outside. I guess I'm trying to bring a sense of the outdoors to runners. I know a lot of you run on treadmills too, and some of us have to do that depending on weather conditions, really in order to be smart about how far you can run. And, if you have a long training run and it's adverse weather conditions outside, putting at least some of that in the treadmill is beneficial. Sometimes I'll break up my runs and move part of the run outside and keep part of it inside just to kind of give me some variety. But, my preference is to always run outside if that's possible. And I guess I'm curious if any of you feel that way too. I know some people prefer to only run outside, and that becomes a big issue in winter. You have to use spikes or yak tracks or, knockoffs. There are knockoff spikes that aren't called yak tracks that you can get. I've had problems with Yaktrax. Was running too aggressively through a snowdrift downhill, wiped out, destroyed the Yaktrax, and I'm not sure if that was a runner error or if that is poor design. So maybe I need to talk to some people that use Yaktrax more than I do. Some good friends in the upper Midwest and kind of the Ohio, Indiana, Illinois area that deal with snow and ice. Well, and Michigan too. Michiganders are, deal with a lot more adverse conditions than we have. And I know that from my sister and brother-in-law and their family live in the Michigan area. I've got a brother in Indianapolis who's a runner. And Indiana can have some ice storms and things of that nature, but Michigan seems to get pounded with snow. Chicago. I don't know how some people, Wisconsin, I don't know, Minnesota. I'm just thinking of all the areas in the country that have much more adverse winters than we do. And I don't know how these runners do it. Some of them are outside running every day, and it takes a lot of courage to do that sometimes if you're dealing with ice and snow and serious wind chills. I really can't run outside if it's under 20, and I have to pay attention to the wind chill also. And but really about 20 degrees is what my asthma will allow me to do. If I bundle up with layers, I might go out for short runs, maybe down to 10 degrees or so. But anything below that, I pretty much have to be inside. The other problem for me is just slipping on ice. I've had some falls. You can accelerate too much when you're running and not realize it, lose your footing and slip. And it's very easy to do that in snow, ice, rain, mud. We've had a lot of rain here recently, and so sometimes you don't see the mud spots or mud holes that are going by, and you just have to be really careful with that. And I've found, especially when I have my dog in the leash, she likes to pull me different directions, and if I'm not expecting it, who knows where my foot's going to land. Sometimes it'll land on a lawn sprinkler or something like that. So just be really careful of hazards. Cracks in the sidewalk or the road are very dangerous. And I would encourage all of you to think about wearing a headlamp. I had a bad fall in March where I was running in 5 fingers in the dark with no headlamp, and there were huge cracks in the pavement or the street that I didn't remember they were there. I knew they were there, but couldn't see them, and I had forgotten, and I was rushing to get back because my wife had to get to work, and so bad fall, hit my head. Probably if I was wearing a headlamp, I don't think that fall would have happened. And of course, if you do have a fall like that, you've got to take steps to make sure that you're okay. Checking for concussion symptoms and things of that nature. And I was concerned about that for a little bit, but I don't think it was just kind of one of those unexpected stress events. I don't think it was a concussive event. But definitely want to be careful. You don't want to get hurt, and take steps to avoid unnecessary injuries. Try to run in areas where there's adequate lighting. And if there isn't adequate lighting, make sure your headlamp's charged and put your headlamp on the right setting. I have a Petzl one that has red and white light. So I can do either one of those, and it has blinkers also. So it can blink red. I think it can blink white, but I think the blinker primarily works with red. But the Petzl headlamp is the one I would strongly recommend if you don't have a headlamp. Check on that and see if you can, make that a part of your arsenal of safety equipment. Helps to have a reflective vest. I've got a neon yellow reflective vest, and, that's very helpful. Sometimes the neon vest doesn't always fit with the running clothes I'm already wearing. So, I have to figure out, do I do a reflective jacket or something instead? And, I check which ones of my shoes are reflective. Some are bright neon yellow. Some have brighter reflectors in the back. Some really don't have anything like that. I have a couple pair of black shoes that I love, but without putting reflective tape on them or whatever, is not really safe for running in the dark. And I've kind of learned the hard way that 5 fingers are maybe not the shoes that I want to be wearing in the dark. There's just too high a risk of cracks in the pavement, cracks in the sidewalk. Really need to watch for irregular cracks in the pavement and in sidewalks too. And sometimes in the dark, you can't see those very well. And if I'm running with my dog, sometimes she'll pull on the leash and I won't see a crack in the sidewalk. And so I've learned to be really careful about which shoes I'm wearing and what the bottom tread of those shoes looks like, just so I don't have a problem with shoes popping off in the middle of a run. I've had that happen with, I think I had a pair of Brooks that I was accelerating too much and fell. And I think part of the Brooks little circle or oval fell off, chipped off the bottom. I've had it happen with other shoemakers also, so I don't think it's exclusively a Brooks problem, although I did bring it to Brooks running rep attention at a recent group running event in Lincoln, where I live. So, and here we have a local track club, Lincoln Track Club, and it's affiliated with the Roadrunners Club of America. I am a RRCA certified running coach. I do have a running blog, and it's can be found at runninggrooveshark.com. I'll type that into the chat so you can see it if you want to look. You can also find me on Twitter at Jeremy P. Murphy is probably the easiest way to reach me on Twitter. And then I have email contact that you can use if you want to ask me about running or coaching. And that's jeremypmurphy@gmail.com. And I'll type that in so you have that too. So those are a couple different ways to reach me. I can also be reached by phone. You can contact me on Facebook. I'm on Pinterest, Periscope, Instagram. What am I leaving out? Meerkat, Blab, of course, where we are today. But I've just really enjoyed this platform in getting to meet runners from other areas of the country, from other countries, and just kind of comparing notes on, running in different types of weather, running through different types of conditions, running challenges. For some of us, almost kind of a running obsession. I think there is probably such a thing. Some of us have, I don't know if I would call it an addiction to running or not, or a compulsion, but it's once you experience the endorphin effect, and your body tells your brain that you want more of that. You feel like you have to do it, but you also want to do it for the enjoyment of it. You don't want it to become something that rules your life and throws things out of balance. So one thing that I've done is to try to sleep more. I was trying to cut corners with sleep and not have that as a significant part of my life. And, I figured if I had to give up something, I'd just give up some sleep. And then that would affects how you go through life on a daily basis and your ability to run effectively and with strength and perseverance. And nobody wants to be in a situation where you're not at your operating at your peak performance or peak capacity. And so that's really what I'm about as a runner and a running coach, to try to get people to move to the next level advance, move to new heights. That's, you know, some people are so close to their goal, depending on what it is, whether it's, you know, running their first 5K or finishing a half marathon, or speeding up their marathon time, maybe qualifying for the Boston Marathon someday, which is pretty much by time. If you run a Boston qualifying time, that's pretty much how you qualify, unless you go through, there are medical hardship ways to be approved to get a Boston bib. And I know some people with asthma in particular that have pursued that and have failed because they haven't had the, you know, strong enough medical documentation. So it puts you in a situation with your medical condition like that. You either have to find a path to Boston by qualifying by time, or find adequate medical documentation in the negotiation process with Boston Marathon officials. I've tried to qualify for Boston, you know, over my career a couple times, haven't made it yet. I'm still hoping to make it. I know as I get older, you know, the qualifying times move closer to me every 10 years, I think it is. I think I'd have to run a 3:25 pace now. And, well, in May, I ran, I think, a 4:19, which was my fastest marathon in 11 years, but still well off the Boston qualifying pace. So in order for someone like me to run Boston, I would have to either qualify by time, or to run it for a charity perhaps. And I just, my asthma isn't chronic enough, I think, to have the medical documentation to go the medical hardship route. I wouldn't even try it. I know people with much more chronic conditions with asthma, even, you know, within my own family, not my immediate family, but, you know, uncles, aunts, people like that. And so, but that's really something that, you know, a lot of people have difficulty with their medical condition causing problems in qualifying, you know, whether it's asthma, diabetes, something else. People have all kinds of things that might affect their ability to race at their top capacity. So I guess what I try to look for is, you know, look at where people are and do some kind of evaluation and figure out if something's missing, look at whether there's an injury or not. And if there is an injury, we try to look at the causes of that. Sorry, got a bug on my glasses. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, you can't write scripts like this. You can have bugs crawling into glasses, but you know, the 30 geese that flew over my head in a perfect V formation, 50 feet over my head today, that's what I wanted to happen during this broadcast, and they haven't returned yet. So we'll see if we can summon them to come back. They have at least half an hour to get here. But we'll see if we can get them back here. They flew over earlier when it was, you know, a little more cloudy and cooler. I'm not sure they want to be out in this. You can see Misty there behind me. She's kind of barking and communicating with the dog next door. They like to talk through the gate. And, you know, that Misty's demonstrating something we do in the backyard with, you know, having fun with each other with running dog circles, dog tricks. She has a couple balls out here and a dog frisbee. But really, she's a very active dog, and so we have to find ways to wear her out. So a lot of the time, we might just take her in the backyard and do some dog circles. We do dog bowling with a couple of dog chew balls. We just kind of roll them to her, and she finds that very relaxing for some reason. I guess because we've made it a habit. So, you know, and I really running with a dog. I know some of you might be dog owners, and a lot of my friends have dogs, and some are at different ages. And Misty's still, I think, considered it either a puppy or a young adult. I'm not sure which. You know, some say a dog is a puppy until the dog is a year old. Some say it's more like 6 months. And well, she's eating young adult dog food now. So I guess being 8 months old, she's somewhere between a puppy and a young adult dog. You know, I've taken her for maybe a 10K run is kind of the longest we've done. And I'm trying not to do anything close to that now because she's not, you know, I know her legs and skeletal, you know, her limbs and all that are still developing, so we don't want to overstress them. So usually we run, it might be a mile or so, maybe sometimes up to a 5K. It just kind of depends. We assess how much energy we think she has. And if she has too much, then we walk with her later. So one thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, runners find that sometimes it helps to take walk breaks. And I'm a big proponent of this. In fact, I've asked Jeff Galloway if I could start a Galloway training program here in Lincoln, Nebraska. We don't have one here in Nebraska yet. But what it would be is a kind of a training group that would do the run, walk, run method. And really what that is inserting strategic walk breaks into your run to lengthen your endurance, to allow you to burn energy with, you know, at a more efficiently, I guess is what I would say. So you're, you know, maybe you run, to give you an example, maybe you run for 10 minutes and walk for 1 minute. Or, you know, 5 minutes running to 1 minute walking, 3 minutes running to 2 minutes of walking. It just kind of depends, you know, where are you with your running process. So, you know, that's something that I've been doing at least since 1999. I remember inserting those for the Dallas Marathon in 1999. It's the last, well, it's the first race that I remember strategically inserting them. And I, you know, it did help in that race. It wasn't a fantastic race for me, but, you know, there was a pollen count there that I didn't expect with red cedar. And so my asthma doctor talked to me about that, and he said, you really have to be monitoring that regardless of where you're running, even if it's someplace that isn't here. And there is a website I want to tell you about to monitor pollen counts, and it's called pollen.com. And then for asthma, there's a website called asthma.com. And these give you, pollen.com gives you a 4-day asthma, or sorry, 4-day pollen forecast for the city that you're in, or anywhere in the United States. Same thing for asthma, gives you a 4-day asthma forecast, and it puts it into a low risk, moderate risk, and high risk. Both of them do that. Sometimes it might be moderate to high. Sometimes it might be low to medium. So you have a little bit of a gradient range there. But those are a couple resources I look at. I might not check them every day, but I do, you know, pop in and look at them if I think I'm having issues. So do want to welcome JD for joining us. Thanks for popping in. Feel free to ask a question either in the chat or pop in an open seat. I think I've opened the seat here if you want to pop in and ask a question. But we're talking about running, and I'm the blogger at runninggrooveshark.com, also an RRCA certified running coach. Got my RRCA certification this year in Massachusetts. Been running marathons since 1988. I think I've run 15, if I'm counting them correctly, 15 full marathons, several half marathons. Don't know how many halves. I was counting halves, but then I don't know, the marathons became a little more meaningful to me. I've run one 50K competitively. There was one day in January where I ran a 50K in one day in several runs. That was kind of a different situation, and there was snow affecting that completion, but I was rewarded on January 31st of this year. I remember running and seeing a fox in that snowy run and the snowy run was needed to top off the 50K quantity and really, at least, I guess it was powerful to me to realize and know that even with asthma, that I can do this. And I guess that's something that I would emphasize with all of you, that regardless of what you think your running ability is or what your running capacity is, if you put your mind to it, it's just amazing what can happen. I think there's personally, I think there's a mindfulness to running and I guess a positive running mindset. Sometimes we get trapped in negativity and we think, oh, this run was terrible. I don't like running anymore. I hate running. And, so you have this, I love running. I hate running relationships. So let's see, we have a question from JD, and I'll read it for the benefit of the transcript here. Says he's had some issues with the tight Achilles. Do you recommend a warm-up stretch? Yes, there's, it kind of depends if you, sometimes there's heel pain in addition to that, but, I think you can do like, either, you do toe raises for calves. You can do something like that, otherwise just kind of holding the back of your leg and, you maybe want to try to point and flex your foot a little bit. If that's painful, you can, press against the wall and, you can do that alternating one leg at a time where you're, kind of tightening one Achilles at a time, and then you switch legs. And, the longer leg is the one that you're stretching. I'd be careful with this. If it's, if it feels really tight doing that, it's better not to overstretch it. And some people will, I actually have to tape over my Achilles with KT tape or kinesiology tape that you can get at Target or CVS pharmacy. And I kind of tape into my heel because I tend to have heel swelling at times, and the back of my Achilles gets aggravated by just by the pounding against the running shoes sometimes. So sometimes taping over it, sometimes that can help with that. So that would be, what I would recommend. You might want to also check Meb Keflezighi, the recent Boston Marathon champion from, I think it was 2014. He has a book out called Meb for Mortals, and he has a bunch of stretches in there. I think there are probably at least one or two stretches in there that might be for the Achilles and or the feet and the calves possibly. And so you might want to check out that book either at a bookstore or a library and give that a shot. But I guess that's how I would answer that. So we'll say calf raises, pressing against the wall. I'd say gently to be careful. And then maybe check Meb for Mortals book for additional stretches. You're welcome. Sure. Yeah, a lot of people have plantar fasciitis is another common injury I was going to talk about because it's just, it's so common. You talk to runners and it's amazing how many of us have had this. And I was one of those people that had it. But a lot of it, I think, was from heel striking, from poor form, or striking too hard. And, generally speaking, if you're running and you can hear your footfalls and they're really loud and it sounds like galloping horses coming or something like that, there might be something wrong with your form. And I've made that mistake myself. You you find that you have problems with something like that. So so what I've done, I've kind of switched to more of a midfoot strike, midfoot to forefoot strike, and also taping over my my heel region, and just kind of taping the KT tape, putting the tape at the base of the kind of the midfoot, and then taping over the Achilles. That seems to prevent almost all of the heel problems that I've had. That and correcting my form, just so I'm shortening the strides, making sure I'm not heel striking. And if I see evidence of heel striking, to really try to do something about that. So, that's heel striking can really create some serious problems and injuries. And I guess plantar fasciitis is a painful one. We've had, I think I did ultimately have to see the doctor, and I think he prescribed Celebrex or something for inflammation. And I mean, it got to a point where I was wearing a boot at night, and, wearing protective bandages during the day, just to kind of compression bandages, the ankle bandages. Sometimes those help. Sometimes you can cut out pieces of felt and put those into your run, kind of make custom orthotics, I guess. So those are, I think a lot of times it is just poor form that causes that type of problem. But and sometimes it's pretty easy to learn that. I mean, I even I ran a 5-mile race recently at the Pioneers Park here in Lincoln, the Buffalo Run, and looked at the pictures from that. And the picture of me going downhill just kind of indicated, I see a heel strike coming there, and that's not something that I want to have or maintain or be able to spread or teach anyone. But I think sometimes when you're trying to accelerate or whatever, we have to keep that perfect form in mind and realize that we may never achieve the perfect form, but to strive for the perfect form and to improve the form and to do form drills occasionally, where we're intentionally trying to shrink our strides. And that's one of my problems. I tend to overstride, and so I pay close attention to my stride length with my Garmin, and I know if it's over a meter or whatever that I probably am overstriding, and if it's closer to 0.8 meters, then it's closer to ideal. Really, I'd go for 0.82, but now I'm really getting into the data, and sometimes that's for newer runners that can be overwhelming to start at that level. But if you have a Garmin device or any device that measures the length of your stride, check that out and look at it periodically and see if you have better performance. I had a great 10-mile race where the stride length was just over a meter, but with how well the race went, I know that for that race, maybe it was ideal. Although I would have preferred that it, be closer to 0.8, 0.82, 0.85, something like that. So, yeah, the form is something we have to practice. And I see. You're saying when you sprint, you don't have a problem with form, only with distance. Yeah, I think fatigue has something to do with it. So that might be part of the issue. The longer you go, the more we tend to get worn out. Although some of us aren't really built with a lot of fast twitch muscles that sprinters have predominance of. We all have fast twitch and slow twitch muscles and intermediate muscles that can kind of go either direction. And I know I definitely have a lot more slow twitch muscles. Although I know I still have some fast twitch muscles, but the fast twitch can convert to slow twitch. And if they do convert, it's my understanding that they can't convert back to fast twitch, if I've learned that correctly. So, some of us have a lot more fast twitch muscles, and those end up being the people that are more successful sprinters in a lot of cases. Usain Bolt, for example, would have a lot more fast twitch muscles than Meb Keflezighi or some successful world-class marathoner. And then you get into ultra marathoners that are world-class. I mean, you're talking even a higher level of slow twitch muscles. And I'll give you an example of the conversion. There's an elite ultramarathoner named Phil McCarthy. He went to high school with me. He was a sprinter in high school. He was on the 4x100 relay. I think he ran the 100-meter dash, maybe the 200 too, but the 400 relay was really kind of his specialty. And he, so I'm thinking in high school, that he has pretty much fast twitch muscles, right? And so when I started running marathons, I told him at one point, I said, Phil, you really should run a marathon. I think you'd like it. I was really liking it. And so I was trying to, preach the good word or good news of running to others and maybe convince others to have a healthy lifestyle. And so he kind of laughed it off and he said, I'm not going to do that. You're crazy. I'm a sprinter, but it stuck with him. It stuck in his head. And so, shortly after that, he ran his first New York marathon. And, it didn't go as well. He was hoping. It took a little while for running for distance running to take with him. He'd still love sprinting, but at that point, he didn't love distance running. And he found that the full marathon was not long enough for him. And he found that the ultra marathon is really where he was having success. So that is something that he noticed and decided to pursue ultras. And at some point, I think he was the American 48-hour race national champion a couple of years ago. And then there was a 6-day race in New York, and he had never run this 6-day race before. And it's kind of one of those races where you can run for as long as you want. You can sleep, you can eat, you can take a break, you can walk. So runners, they have this competitive spirit. So they're all trying to see, well, how many hours can I run per day? And can I survive on 4 hours sleep or 5 or whatever? And so on his first attempt at winning this, at running this 6-day race, I just gave away the conclusion. He wins the race. He wins the 6-day race on his first attempt. And so this best friend of mine from high school, Phil McCarthy, he tells me, well, I think this was after he won the 6-day race. He said, you should run an ultramarathon. And I said, I really like full marathons. I like the 26.2 distance, and I'm just not really comfortable. It seemed out of my comfort zone. I thought of all these excuses. Well, I have asthma, and it's so long, and the fear of the unknown, not knowing how the heck would you train for that, having never trained for it. But I found there were resources out there that, there was an experienced physical therapist who runs ultras. And so she had a suggested training schedule. And so I kind of modified that for run streaking. And so that's what encouraged me to, excuse me, I'm going to say bye here. So that's really what, inspired me to run an ultra. So the reciprocal effect that runners have on each other needs to be remembered, and something we should be mindful of. Sometimes you don't know who you're inspiring with your actions or your question. Would you like to run with me? Or would you like to run this race? We could run this race together. We could raise money for charity, by running this race together, or walking this race, or let's run this race as a family. There are a lot of runners that, run with their spouses or children, run races of family. You have all the matching shirts, and, now there are virtual races. And so you can run virtually with people all over the world. There are virtual dog races. We just did the puppy run in June with Misty, and I think there's another dog race coming up that Game Time is sponsoring, and Game Time's on Twitter. I think it's Game Time with two eyes. I'm not sure why there are two eyes, but somebody probably had the Game Time spelled like you would spell it phonetically. Somebody probably took it on Twitter, and so it just makes it more unique. And so what else can I tell you about running? Earthathon, a 25,000-mile relay around the earth with people from all over the world. I think there are about 12 teams or so. I'm on the Run Shine team, and the Earthathon relay restarts like every 6 months. I think they started in January, and then we started another one in July, and you can change teams. And, so I was with, I think, Run for the Stars in the early part of this year. And then I decided, well, I don't want to be with the same team every time. And so I saw a lot of positivity with Run Shine. And so I decided to go with Run Shine for this session. But basically, you log your miles. You can log them whenever you want. You can log them once a month, once a week, daily. But it gives you a little bit of recognition for your efforts. I mean, there's a bronze medal, a silver medal, a gold medal, and they're all imaginary. But it's recognizing how much running you've put in relative to your colleagues. And there's one Earthathon team that has a captain who has cancer right now, and I think it's Upon Eagle's Wings is the team. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the runner's name. I think of Twitter handles when some of my runner friends have never met that are more virtual. I think of their Twitter handles, and so. But you might want to check that out. I'd like to try to encourage people that are going through adversity and, definitely running through cancer and chemotherapy and stuff like that. I mean, that's some really tough stuff compared to, we can think that we have a tough life, but we look at other people having more significant problems than ourselves, and it really helps put things in perspective. And so I try to, when I deal with negativity or feeling like I can't do something, I try to kind of look at the big picture and see what other people that are out there. And that just kind of puts in perspective, where you are with something, and just making you realize that you really can do it, and trying to help each other out, and giving support and encouragement, positivity. Positivity is something that's a big deal to me. In fact, I'm a transformational life coach also, and a nutrition consultant. So I'm writing a positivity course now, and I'm writing a positivity book. But the positivity has really transformed my life, and I'm trying to spread that to others and help them realize how many possibilities that can unlock for you. Really, by seeking to be happy, seeking to influence others positively, showing others love, support, and encouragement that they may need, or just sometimes just being available to listen. We get so caught up in our own affairs that we're not listening to what other people are going through. And even if we're in a conversation, sometimes we're listening to respond and not really listening to understand and absorb and help and be available for others. So I just wanted to kind of make those things open and give all of you some information, try to answer questions. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in a seat, feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'm available for questions, and probably going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes or so. I'm keeping an eye on Misty, our dog, here in the backyard, and she's playing with a rock. You know, rocks are so exciting. You can chew on a bone or a dog toy, but you know, if you've got a hard, crunchy rock that's not going to break, that's very exciting. So we are going to have to move those rocks before we mow, though. You know, you can't really mow over rocks, and boy, running around the backyard, you don't want to be tripping over a rock either, or a branch, or a dog toy, or a dog bone. But anyway, I guess one thing I would emphasize with those of you that might be morning runners is remember to have your cup of coffee if you're a coffee drinker, or a cup of tea. Sometimes that helps. I wouldn't overdo that before running. Maybe just 1 cup, or do half a cup if caffeine affects you a lot. Some people would just shrink the normal caffeine consumption in half to make sure that they're not overdoing it beforehand. But I found if I leave the house and have you know, haven't had a cup of coffee, you know, the run doesn't tend to go as well. So, you know, I try to make sure that we have the coffee maker set up to start at 5:15 every morning. And, you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes I've got to make it when I get up, and, you know, so I guess keep that in mind. You know, there's the coffee trick. There's an imaginary energy trick that you can, if you're running low on energy during a run and you need energy, and you just create a point you have to run to get it, and you go there and you grab it. And in order to make this work, you have to believe that it's going to work. And this is kind of a modification of something I learned from one of Jeff Galloway's books, but, you know, visualizing imaginary energy particles, and you know, you have to have mental tricks like that in your backpack. Maybe not your literal backpack, but you know, your backpack that you will use when you run. And, you know, it helps to have a bag of tricks and to rotate them, but you have to believe that they're going to work. And if you don't believe that they're going to work, then you're going to have a situation where you're going to have to make it up on the fly. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. You know, creativity and imagination helps. And, you know, just being creative. And, you know, sometimes I use on, if I'm in a race, I pick a runner that's in front of me, and I pretend that I have a rope attached to that runner, or a lasso, something that's going to pull me towards that runner. And so, you know, sometimes that works, and sometimes you have to reselect who you use for that, because the runner you might be using as your lasso to reel you to a faster time ends up slowing down, and then you've got to pick a different focal point. But really focusing on, sometimes the runner ahead of you isn't far enough up. You might want to focus on, you know, a runner that's maybe a quarter mile away from you, you know, and just fixate on where they are, what their pace is, try to pick it up until you catch them, or stay right behind them if you have to, and see if you can follow them all the way to the finish line. I found that, you know, a lot of times just being able to do that can propel you to new heights with running. I think I tried this in a 10 miler, and the person I was using as the, you know, the target that I was using to help reel me into a faster time, she ended up winning her age group. And I ended up winning mine for the first time in this series of races. And so I, you know, without having that type of person and picking the right person to use as a target, you know, I don't think that would have happened. That you know, there's only so much you can do by yourself sometimes, and sometimes you have to have a target like that to be able to catch up to. So notice a couple others are jumping in. I just wanted to let you know I'm Jeremy Murphy. I'm a certified RRCA running coach and ultramarathoner. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the central or Midwestern United States, depending on how you classify the location here. But I'm here to talk about running, answer any running questions. Anyone's free to jump in a seat here if you like to ask me a question, or you can type one in the chat. But we're just kind of talking about running and race strategies at work. One thing that's very important would be you don't want to go out of the gate too fast. And I am a jackrabbit. I am the person that, that gun is fired, and I am, I want to be running 5-minute mile splits, even though that's 2 minutes faster than my race pace usually. So I've realized, if I get to 5-minute miles, it's cool to lead the race for a while, but that burns off energy you're going to need for the finish. If you're racing somebody for a place or a age division medal or something like that at the end, you really want to have a little bit of energy in reserve. So it's better to go out a tiny bit slow, especially in a marathon. Some of the marathons that I run, I'm trying to run the slowest mile is the first mile. And sometimes that's not possible because you're weaving and running around people. But you want to make sure, that you're being cognizant of what you're intending your race pace to be and conserving some energy for the end. You want to absolutely preserve some of that energy. You don't want to burn it off too fast. If you do, you're going to hit the wall, if there is such a thing, earlier than you'd like. So I see we have a question from JC. When you're training, what is a better strategy? Training pace all the time at the same time, or be controlled by heart rate? It really depends. I've used a heart rate monitor a lot. I've used it for with my Garmin. As an asthmatic, I also have to monitor my VO2 max, which is the volume of oxygen, measuring the oxygen efficiency that your lungs are processing, your breathing. So I kind of monitor that too. Yeah, I have a 624 runner too. We had the same watch. I would say you want to do some of both. The problem with doing too much heart rate monitor training is that you can get too addicted to the data itself. And I'm of the school of thought that every once in a while, I think, unless you have a chronic heart condition or something like that, I don't know that you want to be wearing the heart rate monitor every day. In fact, I've tried to, for a while I was trying to do that, but sometimes that will actually cut my chest a little bit. So sometimes I'll have to put KT tape down under it. But I think you want to be, heart rate training can be very beneficial if you're doing like the Maffetone training, where you're training in zone 2 and trying to keep some of those runs at that MAF level, so you're not overexerting all the time. I think that's extremely beneficial, but I don't think you want to get so attached to that you're not looking at other methodologies. For a while, I was pretty much doing Maffetone heart rate training. I have attempted that, and trying to do the one MAF run a month, where you're trying to run in zone 2 and measuring your exertion and making sure you're not popping out of zone 2, keeping your pace slow enough to do that, and then looking at that over time and seeing if your MAF performance is improving or not. There is benefit to that, but I've really I've kind of gotten back more to the pace. I do occasionally still wear my heart rate monitor, but I've found, I don't want to get so tied to that I'm not thinking about, the length of my strides and things like that. I've found have been really important to me, since I tend to overstride, and that's something that I think a lot of us have gone through. Oh, let's see. Have you ever heard of the Michael Westphal story? Gosh, name sounds familiar, and I cannot remember. Is this the guy that? No, I don't think. I don't think I have. I was thinking of the runner that qualified for the no, not the Olympics, but the World Games, and then wasn't going to wear the Nike apparel, even though his sponsoring company that said that was okay. But I'll look that up. Yeah, I haven't. I think the person involved in that, maybe his name was Michael too. But I'll look that up. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Anyone else have running questions or anything, or any issues you want to talk about? Probably going to wrap this up shortly. We've had a good number of you pop in, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I am intending to try to do, at least one of these shows a week. It may not be every week if we're traveling, but oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I'll check on that. It sounds like a fascinating story. This runner, Michael Westphal, has cerebral palsy, but when he runs, the symptoms go away. Interesting. Yeah, there have been a lot of inspirational stories about that, of runners with adversity, and there's the team in Boston of the father and son that have done the Boston Marathon for many years together, and now the father's retired from running, so someone else is pushing the son in the race, and there's all kinds of challenges. People with artificial limbs and all kinds of those examples are very inspiring also. And I think we're all given great gifts, but we're all given challenges, and I think we all have to work through those. And if we can find ways to encourage each other and work through those challenges, I think we can inspire each other to work through a lot of those challenges. Sometimes I think we put barriers in our mind of what we think we can't accomplish, and we get a comfort zone going, and we think we can we think we can only do so much, and we find that we can actually do a lot more than we think. And you start looking at examples of people exceeding their expectations and going out and thinking they can never run a race, and then they run out and win the race or place. And sometimes running is a kind of a hidden gift that we have to discover and develop, and really work. Sometimes we just have to work at it and be consistent in order to reach the point that we can succeed. And sometimes that's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in a day. It may take a year or more to really find where you are with running and be able to move to the next level. I'm going to let a runner in here just a minute. Looks like he's trying to join us. We can't see him. Can you hear us? I don't know. I can't hear you. I can't see you. I don't know if, Jan, I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can refresh. Sometimes it helps. Oh, audio only. Sometimes if you have weak internet connection, you get audio only. But feel free to talk, Jan, if you can. And, if you have a question or want to say something, I'd be happy to chat with you about it. Sometimes we can get the, I keep saying audio only. Let's see, I want to welcome Michael J. Merlino's joined us. Haven't welcomed you yet. Sorry about that. Trying to keep up here, and he popped out. Jim, feel free to try to pop back in if you can. Sometimes it helps if you pop out and refresh your browser. Sometimes there's a lot of traffic on Fridays, and sometimes you can't always get in when you want. And even when you can, sometimes we get frozen screens in Blab, and people have to pop out and refresh and go about that. Okay, so we have an update on the Michael Westphal story. It looks like it's Parkinson's. And that's interesting, because that's something that more and more people are having as they get later in life. And I don't know, I guess people are getting that at all different ages now. And so I'll definitely look up that story, though. Thanks for telling me about that, Mike. Okay, anyone else? Looks like we have a couple other people here. Anyone else want to hop in a seat and talk about running or ask a question? I'm here to help if you want to talk or ask a question, or maybe tell us about your running experience, your latest race, or what your newest challenge is. I'll tell you, my next race that's on my schedule is the Run Laughlin race in Laughlin, Nevada. The race also goes into Arizona. So it's 2 time zones, two states. Part of it is on a dam, part of it goes through trail, desert. But there's something called Run Chat on Twitter. And I just had a random giveaway, and somehow I won one of the prizes for a free race entry. So I'll be covering that for Run Chat, along with there was a female winner also. So I look forward to meeting her and meeting a bunch of runners. But I'm excited about running a brand new half marathon that they haven't even held yet. But they're excited about it, and a lot of us are traveling to run this. And it's a unique opportunity to run a race in 2 different states, 2 different time zones. I'm kind of very one of those people that get very excited about what time is it, and preoccupied with that to such a degree that you lose track of time sometimes. And so it's a little uncomfortable to me to go through 2 time zones during a race, but everybody has to expand their comfort zone at some point. And really, our comfort zone is kind of an invention of our mind. And I think there's discomfort that occurs with running, and we just have to realize and accept that some of it's periodic. It'll pass. It's transitory. I know a lot of runners with injuries. I would emphasize your injuries are generally transitory. They pass. I'm not afflicted with plantar fasciitis that I've had before. Sometimes I would have runner's knee, and I've kind of figured out just tips and strategies to work around that, really improving my form and taping up with kinesiology tape, KT tape, as it's otherwise known. And you can get it at CVS or Target. You can get it at KT Tape online. So those are a couple other places you can turn for other resources. And, feel free to contact me if you have any questions about running. Be happy to talk to anybody about it and answer questions. I'm available for coaching any level runners, pretty much just coaching adults. That's what my certification is from the Road Runners Club of America. And I'm also certified in first aid and something else. I can't remember what the other thing was we had to be certified in. CPR. CPR, I should have said CPR first. It's before first aid in the alphabet. But you have to be able to help people if they have a traumatic event, heart problems, lung problems, weather-related issues, injuries, things of that nature. So, some of what I do with people is just figuring out where they are with their running, where they'd like to go, what their next race is, what their top target race is. And then we figure out, how to get them to the level of achieving where they want to get with their peak performance in that target race. And really looking at maybe some races to just boost speed. And for some people, they don't maybe want to race as much, or they have one target race and then they want to back off and take a break. And, we all have different philosophies on running and how we can maximize that. So, but feel free to contact me. You can contact me, like I said, on Twitter. I'm at Jeremy P. Murphy. My running blog is at runninggrooveshark.com. And you can also contact, I'm on Pinterest, Instagram, Periscope, Meerkat, Blab. Feel free to Facebook, feel free to contact me on any of those platforms. I do have a Facebook page. If you're interested, it's facebook.com, Run Groove Shark. Feel free to like the page to keep up with what I'm doing. And I usually put my blog posts up there when I post them, and also send them out through Twitter. But just looking to connect with runners all over the world, build a more collaborative arrangement so we can all boost our running intelligence and knowledge and be able to move to the next level with our running. Pick a mountaintop and let's all climb that mountain together. So thanks for joining us. If no one else has a question or anything, I think I'm going to probably stop the recording. And I appreciate all of you joining us. And we'll try to have a show next week. I haven't scheduled it yet, but try to get it on the schedule soon. Feel free to subscribe, and you can get a copy of the broadcast. I think you get an audio and a video copy if you subscribe. So you get it in your email, and you can kind of watch and or listen to it at your convenience. Just trying to provide some assistance and information to people that are interested about running, and feel free to give me a call. I'm here. I'm available. Happy to help. Just looking to connect with as many people as possible, and to try to help everyone move forward with a more healthy lifestyle, and to become the best runner that you can be, and to enrich the lives of not only your family but also your friends, everyone that you have influence with. I think we all have a greater influence on others than we think. And so if we can get that healthy lifestyle created within ourselves, we can spread it to others, and hopefully we can make that kind of viral, healthy lifestyle spread throughout the world, so that we're all healthy runners. And, think about the question from Mizuno Shoe Company, my favorite running shoe company. What if everyone ran? What if everyone ran? If everyone ran, what would life be like? The running trails might be more crowded, but there'd be a lot more positivity. There'd be a lot more healthy people, be more fit. And I think we'd have a better world. So let's work together to make that happen. This is Jeremy Murphy, the Running Groove Shark, signing off for today, and have an awesome Fitness Friday. Smash your runs and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.